7:01 next.
That's it.
I know.
Okay.
All right, well, then it's 7:01 according to my cell phone, so we'll call this meeting to order and the record will show that. Five of us are here. Larry is unable to join us this evening. So we'll move on to approval of minutes. Does someone want to make a motion
I'll
to
make a
approve?
motion.
So Rob Woods has the motion to approve the June 15, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
And Steve has a second. Any changes to the minutes? Changes to the minutes. Okay. All in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Or abstain?
I'll abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay, because you weren't here, and neither was I. I'll abstain too, so fortunately it's 3 yeses and 2 abstentions, so this passes. Correspondence, we got a letter from the superintendent of schools about teacher contract negotiations. And basically it was just saying by state statute, you'll read it, come in and talk with a Board of Finance meeting about the upcoming teacher contract negotiations, and they were talking about creating a special meeting, and I said, well, we've got a regular coming up on July 20th, so if you want to just talk about it then. And then they requested to be on the agenda, so I guess all's well, that ends well. It's pretty-
I read it.
So that's the correspondence, that's. the
If we might
superintendent
just touch
schools letter.
touch on that since
What's that?
Linda's here, is there a requirement that the boards meet? It sounded like we had to have a joint meeting. I'm not sure I fully understood it.
Requirement for joint meeting, but there's definitely a requirement that we inform you that we are going into negotiations. There's 2 bargaining units that we have to formally let you know.
Okay.
It's the administrators and the teachers.
Okay,
And really what the meeting or why it's on the agenda is to seek a representative from the Board of Finance to participate in the process.
it didn't actually require the 2.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's the nature of this piece of correspondence from the superintendent of schools. Any other correspondence to come in that not remembering or anything? Okay, we'll move on to citizens' comments. Any citizen here has a comment? Any citizen who has a comment here in the room? Citizens' comments. Any citizen? Any citizen on the Zoom who has a comment? Looks like Valerie Clark has a comment. Go ahead, Valerie. For the record, could you please state your name and address?
Valerie Clark, 105 Elm Road. Later this evening, you have an agenda item regarding the salary for the wetlands and conservation agents. And I just want to say I'm fully in support of the request. They do an awesome job. I attend many of the meetings and I see the type of work and the quality of work that they're doing. And I've also heard what they're making per hour and they should be making more. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments from people here in the room? Here in the room, anyone? And any other citizens' comments from people on the Zoom? All right, thank you. We'll move on to Selectmen's update for Selectman Amy Sanj.
Oh, that's me.
Welcome.
Hello, everyone. It's been quite a summer so far. As far as road work is concerned, our major projects are underway. They have completed or they're in the finishing stages of Park Street, Plum Road and Old Route 12, and that's the backfilling, the loom, the seeding, driveway aprons. So they've moved on to that portion on those smaller roads. Fabian Road is completely reclaimed. And we'll be receiving a base coat hopefully by the end of next week, weather permitting. But in the meantime, they are scheduled to finish Norman Hill Road, another smaller road that's close to Fabian Road. They'll be finishing that next week with the full base coat and top layer, to which Public Works will begin doing the finish work on that road. Fabian Road is slated to be completed by the first week in August. So everything is right on track and moving right along, and yeah, that's exciting. Last night we had a visit from the River Mill developer, John Gumpert, and we did a presentation. The recording, which was live streamed on YouTube, is available, and I encourage the Board of Finance to watch that YouTube video, the live stream. It was very informative. It was an informative and a positive meeting. The developer, we are awaiting the $2 million from DECD for the brownfield remediation cleanup. So that should start as soon as we actually get the money from the state. It's kind of tied up in that bureaucratic process. During the meeting, we did discuss that we are going to have to, in order to assist the developer, we are going to have to offer him a 25-year tax abatement. It's not as awful as it seems. For the last since the last 12 years, there have been no taxes paid on the river mill. From day one of the process of development beginning, not only will the developer begin paying the current taxes, he will also pay the sewer taxes. And we are in negotiations for him to make up for the back taxes prior to the beginning of the development. I just want to give the board sort of an overview of what that tax abatement will look like. From day one, as I said, years 1 through 10, the assessment will remain as it is. So the developer projects that it'll take 10 years to develop that entire mill. So during that development process, the assessment will remain flat, just as it is now, bringing in approximately $28,000 in tax revenue that we aren't realizing currently. Between years 11 and 15, the property, whatever it's assessed at that time after the renovation is completed, he will receive a 75% reduction. Sounds like a lot. However, based on the comps that Paul Hopkins, our assessor, did, he anticipates that the building itself will be worth $31,500,000. So with that new assessment, with a 75% reduction, it would mean about approximately $220,000 in tax revenue annually. That's in years 11 through 15. Years 16 through 20, we get an additional bump up of 25%, so the reduction is only 50%. And that would yield about $400,000 in taxes. The next 5 years, he only gets a 25% reduction in the assessed value. And that yields approximately $600,000 in taxes, already pushing it beyond what the top taxpayer in Thompson pays currently. And that is just the building. In the 26th year, the full value of the property is realized, which will yield about $800,000 in tax revenue just on the building alone. We have to remember that there is plans for there to be retail space, commercial space, restaurants, maybe a small market, maybe a barber shop will be in that facility because that's what he has in a lot of his other mill developments. So those businesses will additionally be taxed. So our intention and our projection is that this will spill over to the Belden Corticelli site as we improve Main Street. Hopefully we get the grant that Tara recently put in. Everything in this area will begin to be revitalized. So as much as we think, oh, we're giving the developer a reduced assessment, it will benefit us in the future. Leaving the mill there and not doing anything to it does nothing for this area. We have a solid developer who's been with us from day one. He has a track record, a proven track record, not only in the South. He developed a mill in Vernon, and this abatement is the same abatement that they gave him in the town of Vernon. So he's also developing Stephen Linen Mill, and I believe one other mill in the area. So he has a proven track record. If you get a moment, please watch the YouTube video. It'll answer a lot of questions, and reach out to Tara or myself. And also, John Gumper, the developer, is happy to take any questions you might have, and I can always get you the answers from him. So, and that's all I have for tonight.
Questions for the person?
I had maybe more of a comment than a question, but I think advantage in population was probably going to bring a number of vehicles into town.
Correct.
And I recognize that's not at a value of a home, but every
It's
10 or 15 could equal a small home. So depending on the value of those vehicles, so that's an added
Yes.
to the town. And then when you look across, there's been a lot of discussion around adding businesses to the town. This is a business. And many business, not most, but many businesses that come in, their assets aren't necessarily what's driving the tax base. It's more often it's the real estate that drives it. Unless they are very, very capital intensive, and then oftentimes those have, oftentimes if it's manufacturing and other extensions, those have, those aren't taxable in many cases. So I just bring up the point that when people talk about business in town, this is the type of business that will be longstanding, connected to the ground, right? Not going anywhere.
Yeah, manufacturing gets a state exemption or
correct.
something, where the
That's
town doesn't get, they get the money from the state somehow instead of from the actual taxpayer.
That's correct.
Correct, because when Superior Bakery was in the site, their taxes were only on the property itself, not on any of the
There you
equipment.
go. That's a great example.
So when they closed down last year, the tax office realized a large, I think it was probably an additional $150,000 that we received in taxes that we had never received before.
Yeah.
Because the operation was shut down,
There you go.
so.
No, that's just a couple of comments.
Sure.
Oh, and there is a specific mechanism. There's only one mechanism to get a Mr. Gumpert, the 25-year tax abatement. So be watching for, Tara will be posting, it's what's called the VAD audit ordinance, the VAD ordinance. It's exclusively for this downtown mill rehabilitation area and also the Route 12 and 131 corridors. And it's specific, it's the only mechanism in order to give Mr. Gumpert the 25-year abatement. It's the same mechanism that was used in Vernon, and we're just duplicating it. So there will be an ordinance being published and you'll be able to review it. It's very specific. It's basically just targeting the mill. So you'll be able to review that too in the coming days.
How many units are anticipated,
300.
and are they family units, single bedroom units, or do we know
A mixture
mixture?
from what I understand, and all market rate. Except for 10% are affordable, 90% market rate.
It's a mix of 1, 2, and 3 beds, primarily 1 and 2s.
Yeah.
I think he did have a couple of 3s planned. And then the requirements of the grant from DDCD, anytime they're giving out money that involves housing, they do have affordable housing set asides. They are actually now higher than what we are allowed to agree to. They've changed their parameters. So the affordability set aside is 10% of the units at 80% of AMI. And just to give you context there, because this came up last night, AMI for the town of Thompson as a whole for family of 4 is just over $80,000. So 80% of AMI would be a family of 4 earning $61,400.
AMI stands for,
Area median income.
thank you.
Is there any consideration of the increased services that would need to be provided?
Are you talking fire?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
gonna guess some of that is very hard to quantify. I mean, it will be initial fire department requirement, probably only unless there's a fire, I guess, or some inspections or something, but more school, I guess, would be maybe rose a little bit, but any
Well,
sort of thought on that
John
side?
Gumpert, as far as education, John Gumpert did mention, and you never know, you don't know who might rent.
Sure.
But he said his track record for all of his developments is there's very few families. It's mostly older individuals who are looking just to not own a home anymore. It's a crazy thing. I just talked to my mother and she was saying she wants to get out of her house and just move to an apartment or a condo. So it does happen. So it's the older and the younger up and coming professionals. So, and I do have one more thing that I completely forgot. We did receive a grant for the local bridge program with the state for one of Buckley Hill Road bridges. We are submitting for the second one once more. So we received $870,000. So that was good. However, the replacement of the bridge is $1.6 million. So we have to come up with the other half at some point. We're probably about 2 years off from actually needing that money. So, but just keep it in mind that that's something that we're going to have to be thinking about when we go, and we'll have to go out for bonding most likely. So, but there's a process now where we have to submit plans to the state, et cetera, et cetera. So it'll be at least a year before we have to start looking into getting a bond. to cover the cost.
Are you considering putting both bridges together?
I'm hoping, so we've submitted again, we're submitting again for so the bridge over the river was covered, the bridge over the canal was not, so we're resubmitting for the canal. I think it's opened up again, so we're hoping to get that as well, and then, yes, it would make more sense to do them together.
I gotta ask a question because I don't know what the bridge over the canal is, what, the one at the end of the road?
I think it's the one closest to the road and the
Okay.
one closer to the.
Because the water
tracks
flowed
is
under them,
water.
actually went under the mill at one point, right?
Right.
Yes.
Got it.
Still
That's the
does-
canal.
Still does.
I think it's-
Okay, no, I just wanted to understand it.
So
Sorry,
that's
back,
it, I think.
back to my question though.
Yeah.
So there, we just didn't evaluate the potential increase in cost. I mean, I know it's very hard and impossible to quantify, but is there some guesstimate or something about
For
what?
the
what might be?
increase in cost for,
Well, I'm guessing
services?
education would be the largest impact, but I'm just a guess. I don't know. Maybe there are other things that I'm not aware of.
I mean, at the most, somebody had mentioned it at the meeting last night, well, if you added one child per unit, well, that's 300 kids. And I don't see that that would dramatically impact the school that's already operating below population.
You wouldn't see that.
So-
Just.
We probably welcome.
Special ed would.
Yeah, just.
Oh, if
just
it's special ed.
I have to bring that up.
No, we could, the campus could accommodate that.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
Easily.
And then the water lines and everything going to that mill are big enough and everything going through Main Street and everything to take 300 units, yeah.
So.
Like 200, yeah, the
Brand new
boat-
tank on the hill.
Lines are
We know the
under
sewer-
capacity, so.
You know, that's underused
Yeah, we
too.
have a brand new tank on the hill.
Yeah, no, I just was trying to, you know, it's
For
interesting to
pressure
find
and so
out, you know,
forth,
I
that's
just,
not a problem.
I know that, in the town I work in, they wanted to put 100 units at the end of the street. And that was one of the issues was the water main had to be a certain size, but of course, they're near the river. So fire suppression was an issue with the one that I'm talking about in the town that I work.
That's not a local.
But, you have the river right there.
It's a
Get pulled out
private
of the river.
company.
Right.
You said it's a $2 million grant is coming.
No, oh,
$2
a $2 million grant for the cleanup, for the
That's right.
remediation.
So logistically, who gets the money? Does it go directly to the developer or does it go to us?
I
And then
think
we
it comes
can-
to us, Terry, you know
And then
the.
the developer?
That DECD $2 million grant is a public-private partnership. We co-applied with the developer.
Oh, yeah.
Because the municipality has to be the lead. But the developer is the one actually bearing all the costs, the upfront costs. So we are a pass-through entity.
Cool.
So he'll employ the environmental professional who will invoice the developer. And then the developer will send us their proof of payment, and then I submit that to the agency. So it's a little.
Yeah, that's okay.
And as soon as the ink is dry on that contract is when we have access to those funds. Strictly speaking, we could be starting work now, but neither the contract is final. I mean, we have the okay from DC to do that. Neither is the contract finalized, nor is the ownership chain fully resolved. So that would be a bad risk for the developer. So those are the things we're waiting.
And it's not a solid $2 million for the cleanup, it's more, they think they projected closer to 3.7.
3.7, I think is what Pam was saying.
Yeah.
Pam is his attorney. So their match component includes 1.7 million of their cash, which they are not being reimbursed for in the hazmat payment
1.7 of the developer's money.
of their money.
Mhm.
Yes, their money. The town does not have a dime from us in match. Our role is the pass-through entity.
I was just gonna ask, and it may be a simple answer that there's no debt or any risk, but we've, and I don't want to go down a path of the history. Some of us lived it, some of us didn't, but we've had less than really great experiences with private public pass through. Is this one as clean as you described, that there's no lending component and there's no like?
We are not fronting any cash.
For example, this developer puts 1.7, the town has the pass through on the 2, and something goes sideways with the contractor, if the contractor sues the developer, is the town on the hook for that? Or is it 100%, you know, through the developer?
No, we had, in fact,
You
that is-
follow where I'm going.
yes, that is
Sure.
part of the reason. We were awarded this grant formally almost 2 years ago. And it is the resolution of all of that paperwork between the ownership chain, who's got the negative pledges for what happens if there's a default. Those are the pieces that have or among the pieces that have delayed us thus far. So we are definitely in final stages of resolving all of the needed documents. Town council and the developers council are working together very closely with DECD. You know, all I can say is soon, but soon in government time
Sure.
is probably before we all retire. But it does feel imminently close compared to where we,
And the way, and again, the way it's structured,
there's
the
no,
risk is in with the developer.
the risk is all on the private entity. The state DECD is really encouraging these public-private partnerships in part because they know that towns can't take these risks. So that's why they do them this way. Because you're just not gonna see a town unless that town has very, very deep cash reserves. Take on a hazmat abatement. It's just too risky for the public to be asked to do that directly. So that's how these things come about, and Connecticut lacks a lot of incentives that a lot of other states have in some areas, but what they do have is a very robust brownfield grant program through the ECD that's put millions and millions of dollars back into the state. Obviously, a lot of it in more populated areas where they have, you know, more direct interest. But whatever else is true of that mill, I mean, it's been a problem for the town because of its vacancy. It is either one of, or possibly the largest one in the state and in some of the best conditions. So it is an asset, which, you know, everybody thank whomever you need to thank that it's not another smoking pile of rubble like the one down the road, because that would be an insurmountable hurdle.
Thank you.
I don't have anything else.
Well, that was gonna be another question of mine is how, obviously, if you fix up this mill, that's nice, right? You fix it up and it's nice for the community. How does fixing up this mill, how does it translate into addressing that mill down there? Because that land is privately owned, isn't it?
It's, yeah, it'll set up, number one, as we're going through the process we're going through right now, it's going to set up a process in order to exchange ownership.
Okay.
So understanding how do we exchange the ownership? How do we partner with a potential developer there? Because that site needs to be cleaned up as well.
Sure.
It's a smaller cleanup and it's certainly a smaller project, but there is cleanup involved there.
There is Cortisone.
But a lot of that's been acknowledged by the study.
Exactly. We
'Cause I
have
was-
the study, so we know what's needed there, but it still needs to occur.
Yeah, and Rob was just, when you say there, you mean. the
630 building.
The building.
Corticelli,
The tower.
Yes,
Right. Now, that land is privately owned,
yes.
so they would have to agree. They would have to agree to some kind of development, right?
Yeah. Or sell it,
It
or,
was all- Sorry,
Go ahead.
was it not also a property that was on the tax sale that the town
It-
pulled off? So
correct.
there's some history there.
Yeah.
Those towns protected it from being. sold.
Yeah.
Being viable.
I don't know context on
Right.
why that came off the tax rolls, because off the tax auction thing, because I know people do ask. So brownfield redevelopment is not exactly like buying an old house fixer upper. Because of the contamination, there are some state programs that if you are an unsophisticated buyer, you think you're scooping up a bargain for the, you know, just for the back taxes, and then you discover you've got $500,000 of cleanup. It's not just $500,000 of cleanup. There's programs you're supposed to have registered in because of this thing called the Transfer Act, which I understand very poorly. But which some of the LEPs who have examined the property understand very well. So when you go out to tax auction, you take the high bidder.
Right.
You don't vet that guy. So if that guy is, you know, pie in the sky, I'm gonna do all these great things and I'm getting this bargain, you run the risk of essentially starting that counter at zero again of a whole new process. So Amy and Rainey and I talked about it before that auction, and we decided it was riskier to the town to allow that to happen than just to pull it off and let it ride until we resolve 929, because that's under common ownership. And we don't want anything that happens here to negatively impact that.
Hold on, meaning the owner of that is the owner of this?
That's correct,
I understand. You don't want to create too many ripples in the water. So to speak.
correct.
Now I have another question. Spencer.
Go ahead.
So are the taxes over there gonna get paid up to date
Not by the developer, not
It's
the
not-
current.
before he does this?
It's not the same
No.
transaction.
Oh, okay. I
Exact
thought it
same
was the same
situation,
owner.
no.
Okay,
Same-
Yeah, but
same-
not the
Same current owner.
current owner. Okay, thank you. All right.
So
But that's what I didn't
why,
catch.
you know, when anything here to impact this very close
No,
to being
Good,
resolved.
okay.
And Belding Porticelli site is in the arrears by $40,000, so it's not a giant amount. So that was another, I mean, that was a huge reason why we pulled it off, because someone might come along and say, oh, I can get 20, I think it's 22 acres.
It's 30,
40.
40
Yeah.
acres to develop.
$40,000.
Oh, I
And
saw
then,
it.
oh, I have.
There was
like
a lot of-
1,000 in cleanup, so it was just a last minute decision just to not even go down that route. So,
So here's another naive question, just because I didn't attend this public meeting last night or the night before, I watched the video, but. So this person who owns both parcels has agreed to sell and or relinquish the mill that's in good shape to the developer? Is
It's-
that what's going on?
it's in discussion, it's in
They've been
negotiation,
negotiating that sale for a while.
right?
Good,
So what we do have is a signed letter from him through his attorney's office. First on the grant saying he will sign whatever we put in front of him. Right, so that's part of those documents they're chasing now. And that is all leading up to that sale.
selling, right?
The
But
actual sale,
right, the
Of
owner of the mill
929.
selling to the developer,
correct,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
I would never have imagined how convoluted and octopus like these things were.
Of course. Of course, yeah, that's okay, and it's progress, I mean, that's good.
Gives a lot of clarity. What you've said today gives a lot of clarity. It really does.
Yeah, you can always reach out and ask.
Yeah, well, and now I see your point when I asked, how does that translate to that? Is now I get it, when you said, well, it creates a roadmap. So that way, the owner of this mill has the opportunity to move through a process. And sell this property, we're assuming it'll be a sale, right? Because there's no reason not to sell if you can sell. And so then there's a profit or whatever, the proceeds to be made, and so then the same owner down, now we look down here, we say, perhaps there's a way that we could have the same happy ending down here as well.
Right.
And the owner thinks, well, okay, I'm sitting on a brownfield property, it's gonna take however many, 500,000 or maybe a couple of million, I don't know, down there. Here's a way that maybe I can get out of this and let the, whoever the next developer is, take the risk and potentially get the reward, but at least I don't have to worry about the risk anymore. So, yeah, that's great.
So
And the
that's
other
good.
relationship there is, so as we've been discussing, 929 Riverside is gonna have 300 rental units, 1s and 2 beds, maybe a couple of 3s. So we do occasionally get private interest in 630 because it is, a low dollar threshold on the back taxes and a relatively understandable cleanup. But then when they come into my office and we discuss, well, what would you like to see there? And we say, well, it's a gateway property for us, so we'd like to see something that involved commercial space and sport, but there's not enough density. Right, that becomes a
Population
worse,
density?
a worse risk. because of
Population density.
Population density. So as the density in the neighborhood increases, this becomes a better risk.
Yeah.
So, and your options increase.
Yep, so one begets the other,
Correct.
Okay.
So their relationship is symbiotic in more ways than one.
sure. Makes a lot of sense. So Amy, I had a question about, it was the tax offer to the developer. And you had mentioned it's what, 25 years of favorable taxes in these sort of staggered
Yes, increases.
levels. And you had mentioned the first 10 or 11 years, is that when there's, what is it, 75% discount or 100%?
The first 10 years, it stays as it's assessed from the time that.
What he's
the-
paying now.
Okay.
Well, right, but so. Because that's what you said, they're not gonna change the assessment.
Correct.
Correct.
So does that mean that he's still gonna pay 100% of whatever the assessment is now for the next 10 years?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought he was gonna get some kind of discount, because then it switches
No.
to a discount.
Well, the
doesn't it?
discount
The
is,
assessment goes up. but
The
then-
discount is he's building it, he's not.
The
getting charged
discount
for
is
the
not
increase.
paying on the
But I'm
improvements.
just, but that's what, so it's, once the building is finished, then it kicks over into a new assessment level,
Mhm.
but then he gets a discount on that assessment level.
On the new.
So
assessment.
for the first 10 to 11 years, he pays 100% of the existing assessment.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, that's,
And he pays the back taxes. So
and he pays the
Correct.
back tax, sure, the back taxes so that we're whole.
kind of-
On day one, we're whole. But then no matter what happens to the building for the next 10 to 11 years, it'll be terrific and it'll be worth a lot more, but he'll be paying 100% of assessment as of theoretically today, so to speak.
Right.
Rock framed it well. He's not paying on the improvements.
Right.
He's paying on the base.
That's right.
Then he gets a
It's
discount.
just you were talking about the discount, so that's why I wanted to clarify when the discount kicks in. The
Right.
discount kicks in
Year
based
11.
on full assessment after the new assessment in
Mhm.
year
If
11.
it's been built.
In the 11th year.
Right.
And I will say that Rainey Moore, our tax collector, is very excited about this project. He's very much in favor of the abatement process, the offer, all of it. So he's been very excited to see that mill get developed. So gave a story last night, how he worked there 2 summers, so.
Oh, nice. But that makes sense to me. It's very commonplace, obviously, to hear about temporary tax abatements, tax offers, tax incentives. For when businesses relocate, developers come in, things happen. I mean, it's par for the course in terms of municipalities, towns and cities and even states making those types of offers. So I'm certainly in favor.
So be watching for the town meeting sometime late August. And come out and support the ordinance that will allow us to be able to move forward with the abatement program.
Please keep us posted.
I will.
Any other questions for the,
Do we need a vote here on this issue or no?
Information.
Just information.
and I guess maybe that brings up the last question is there any kind of formal public municipal action that's required in order to make the $2 million correctly pass through?
No,
Is that one of
No,
those,
no.
that's not
That
one of
was
those?
Well,
The grant read in when we applied for the grant.
Got it.
DEPD is an agency that requires upfront a resolution essentially
Right.
authorizing all the actions of the grant.
But so we're a pass through, meaning we're not technically the payer, because I'm just thinking about referendums when certain payment amounts exceed a certain threshold. It sounds like we're just a pass through. We're not, if, sorry. If we were gonna go out to bond and become like a percentage payer, let's say we're a 50-50 or an 80-20 or a 75-25, then we would have to do a referendum because we're a payer, but
Mhm.
because we're just a pass through. And no Thompson taxpayer dollars are going into this, it's DECD,
right.
then we probably legally avoid, I'm assuming legally we can avoid going to referendum.
Yes.
It's much like
Sounds
the turtle
logical,
at
but you
trust,
never know.
right?
I agree, it sounds logical,
It's a-
but
No.
That's
that's
Tedlock
why I'm
Trust
lawyer,
is part of
maybe
the
you ought to
budget.
consult.
I know,
Right. I
But
guess
it's a
maybe the
pass-through,
best thing
just
to
like
do
that. They
is
spend
It's
it
not,
quietly
it's
around
part of the
that,
budget.
just to make sure
because it
Okay.
flows
we're
through it.
understanding
The
of.
Board of Finance
Spot on.
could adjust.
Absolutely. Well, he's been involved in the whole entire process.
Okay, great. Okay, great.
And he's been drafting a lot of the agreements, et cetera, so,
Or then he would have known.
yeah,
Maybe it's just worth an email,
I'm happy
just,
to,
just so that way there's no surprises.
okay. I will do that, I will let you know.
No worries. Thanks. I'll trust your judgment.
Okay.
Any other questions for Priscilla? Okay, thank you for being here to provide additional, okay, well, thank you for being able to
Try
provide
to be
this
out.
information. It's great. That's it. You know, every great leader relies on very competent people so that when the questions get a little bit too detailed, they can say, and so we have our specialist in blah, blah, so thank you for being the specialist. All right, so we'll move on to school district update, superintendent of schools, Melinda Smith. Welcome, Melinda.
Welcome, thank you, happy summer, everyone. Right now at the school, we are hosting our summer, our extended school year programs for special education students. There's about 45 students participating in that program. That is a mandated program that we provide to students that need that extra support in the summer. Thanks to some grant funding, we were also able to provide intensive reading support using the Gillingham certified staff that we just, that just received that certification at the end of the school year. So many students are coming in for, and I think there's about 40 of those students coming in for intensive remedial reading support. So we're pretty pleased that those two programs are running. As far as big projects this summer, obviously, we pulled back on any of the painting projects and anything that we routinely do in the summer. However, it was Connecticut Water, Amy, that
Yes.
just ran the water line down the hill.
Yep.
So we're waiting for them to come back and repave the driveway. But they worked quickly and they weren't very impactful as far as our traffic during the summer. So we're just waiting for them to come and roll over the patchwork that they put there.
Yes.
As far as big projects, the biggest project happening on the campus right now is the installation of the cooking hood for the culinary arts program. As you know, that was all grant funded. The culinary arts program will begin in September or the end of August 28th. And we're pretty excited. Half of the student body signed up for culinary arts one. So that's good. I'm trying to, we have a 15 student cap on the kitchen. We're working on definitely giving opportunities to the seniors, obviously, but we also need to enroll a group of freshmen because the seniors will only get culinary arts one when the program is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we need to pull in our freshmen. We've developed a very tight partnership with Day Kimball Hospital and QVCC. We will be offering a CNA certification for our students. QVCC will be sending a instructor on site to teach CNA, and then Day Kimball and another clinical site will be providing the 30 clinical hours that those students will need to participate in to become certified. So we're pretty excited about that. And then the third pathway is that we met with Electric Bolt. And what we're excited about is that there is not a certified welding program in any high school. Mike Joyce does teach welding. He teaches one course of welding now. We have a little small welding section in the shop. And Electric Boat is very interested in expanding that. And so we're going on a little field trip with them next month, and they'll provide all the curriculum materials. But it's a really nice opportunity for our students to get work right out of high school if they're not college bound. And some of that work, we need to expand the welding section in that room. And we're hoping that we can look at some Perkins grant funding to kind of expand that section. But we're going to get some guidance from Electric Bolt on how to design that. They took a look at our space because we also have a middle school shop that isn't being used right now. But the ceilings are too low and they need a higher ceiling height. So it'll remain at the high school, but we're just going to try to section off a little larger area. That will be awesome for our students. And we're also implementing and getting ready to implement a scuba diving course for people to be scuba certified. That will happen in the spring. We have a teacher that just became a trainer of trainers. And why that's important to the area, first of all, dive teams that we have here for the fire department, but also Electric Boat has diving welders. And if we can get a kid dive certified and they've had an opportunity to participate in the welding program, they can come out of the high school and make $50 an hour. So that is a nice complement to providing more career pathways for our students. We know that about half of our students are not college bound. They are going to enter the workforce or the military. And so we want to make sure that we're preparing them to do that. And the items that they were very interested in were the medical field. They were very interested in hospitality and culinary. And the third one is there are a group of students that are very interested in welding. So I think, you know, and a lot of those things we relied on grant money to make happen. Excited for our students so that they can come in next year and have those opportunities. So it looks like it's going to be, you know, thanks to the grace of all the grant funding we have. That's gonna work out well. On last Friday, we went out to the Department of Ed. As we know, we're an Opportunity/Alliance district. They monitor us very closely. They're very pleased with the initiatives that we have put in play. And they are very happy with the growth in ELA and math, although it's not flushing out right now, and obviously the SBAC test scores, but student growth individually as grade level cohorts. And I know Kim Granado will be doing a presentation to the board in September, but there is significant growth by grade level cohorts from year to year over the past 3 years. And that's what we want to see. And then eventually that'll impact the overall test scores, but they're pleased with the work we're doing. And so I'm happy to report that.
Questions for the superintendent? Go ahead. Dave.
Backing up, you mentioned the water line. Can you be a little more explicit?
I'm gonna lean on
Okay.
Amy on that one.
So the water line, Connecticut Water used to run, the main line would run through the parking lot, the larger parking lot. They disconnected that line and they needed a pathway to connect it to the new water lines that had been installed that go across it over to Main Street. So they had come in, they sat down with Bill Birch, myself, Joe Tasek, and we discussed the proposal of it coming down. We had to grant them an easement to do that. And originally they were just gonna leave it patched.
Right, and you were not.
And Joe, myself, and Bill Birch was like, oh, no, you're not just gonna patch it, so they will be doing, I think it's called a skim coat, but where they
Mhm.
grind it down a little bit. And then they put another patch of fresh asphalt so that it's completely like it was before.
Now, has that line been discontinued to the school?
Discontinued to the school?
Well, you're saying that putting a line from this tank
It's,
down across 12.
right, it's the main line that connects the new lines that they dropped over on Main Street.
Yes, I'm
2
aware.
years
of
ago.
those.
I don't know that I'm answering your question correctly.
Well,
though.
where is the water at the school coming from?
The back, I think there's a water tower, if I'm correct.
That's where the
Right.
that's where the line is coming, going down your road and across.
But they did not disconnect the line to the school.
No,
Okay.
That I
we
know
didn't
of,
have any
no.
disruption.
Right,
The only reason I ask
Yeah.
is part of the project in 09, 07. That tank has to hold in it X amount of percentage of water
okay.
for fire protection. So that's why I mentioned,
I'll ask
What-
Bill.
what is-
I'll ask Bill as well.
Yeah,
I don't remember the percent, but
Okay,
instead of us building a reserve tank, we were able to get Connecticut Water at that time to agree to maintain a certain level of water in this tank at all times for fire protection.
well, I know, I mean, the pathway used to be just through the parking lot, so they didn't add a line, they just
No, I-
disconnected one and.
That's
rerouted.
fine. I
Okay.
just wanted to understand.
Okay, shouldn't
what was
impact
going
the
on.
quantity of usage, it's just was a redirection of an old line,
Yeah,
so,
that's okay.
okay,
I was concerned
Okay.
because it is set up for fire protection.
understood.
So
Understood.
the mill has a different tank, right, behind like where the Quinn shirt shop is, and then one way up in there too.
So,
Yeah, well, that's all part of the same system.
No, I
actually.
just,
That was put in so the lots would have water pressure.
Any other questions for the superintendent?
Sounds fantastic. Really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
It's very innovative.
And life skills are important.
Yeah.
It's a whole new avenue of life skills that aren't redundant necessarily. Some are, but these are new and not something that is everywhere, so.
we're looking to keep our kids home and we're looking to attract others.
Did the quick math on that $50 an hour, and it's 6 figures per year, right out of high school. And I know one of the things that we collectively as a community do is lament the fact that, you know, if you're a kid and you grow up here and you go to the schools around here, where are the opportunities? Where are the career opportunities? Why stay here? Why not go off to the cities? Why not go live, put your next family? Why not just put it somewhere else? And so our kids, they grow up and they go away. And we sort of say, geez, how can we give our kids an incentive to stick around? Well, that's a pretty big incentive right there. If you're not college bound And depending on the program that you select when you're in your high school, you could potentially get out and make maybe not six, but pretty close. You're making very good money. I would say that's a tremendous incentive to put your roots down here and then raise your family and sort of continue another generation. That's
And EB's always hiring. We just
Yeah.
had somebody that worked maybe for 4 years leave. Work where I worked for 4 years to go work at EB.
They also have a shuttle that leaves from Danielson, and there's been some conversation about having a shuttle swing by here to pick up any kids. I know Ellis does send interns over to Electric Boat, but I do know there's a shuttle from Danielson, so we've been kind of having that preliminary discussion. Well, we're only 8 minutes away. Can't you just swing by and pick up our students? Because there are some students that don't have cars. And so getting out there is going to be a problem, but this is like a work shuttle that they come to the area. So they need workers in all facets of Electric Boat, but there is not a certified welding program in any high school in the region.
So then if I follow you, these other schools that you were just talking about, they would be interested in sending students here to participate in the program, is that what you mean?
Yeah, we're having those.
So we can come up with an idea for that program.
Yes, we're having
Wow.
kind of preliminary discussion with Putnam. Kathleen and I started that work last year. Are there courses that Putnam High School offers that our students may be interested in, vice versa,
So,
so that we can swap? There's no money exchange, there's just
Right.
body exchange.
right. That's great. Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to finance report from Finance Director Bill Stegman.
From a property tax perspective, 19.1 million collected year to date, which is 97% of the budget. Current taxes are 98% of budget. Collection of prior year taxes, 63% of budget, and as we've talked about before, part of that is due to what has turned out to be a pretty aggressive budget for fiscal 23 that we fell short on, as well as the planned tax sale, or Rini had planned a tax sale for fiscal 23, and that has slid into fiscal 24. Interest, liens, and collections at 97% of budget, and motor vehicle supplement at 92% of budget. On the state and federal grant side, there was only one receipt, the final payment of the Pequot grant for the year. But we have come in at 101% of budget from a state and federal grant perspective. Local revenues, 1.2 million, which is 103% of budget, and the big positive there is investment earnings are pretty strong, as they have been all year due to the higher interest rate environment. On the expense side, I'm cautiously optimistic as we wrap up the year. As all of you know, this is a very preliminary look at the June 30th numbers. However, we're including our remaining open POs, which are around $100,000. Those are bills that come in towards the end of the year that are encumbered, but end up getting paid in July and usually through August. We're at 8.3 million in expenses, which is 94% of the budget, approximately $500,000 below. The first bullet in that section, I wanted to bring to your attention that includes the benefit of not making the Turlock Trust transfer. Because that money, obviously the investment balances weren't correct, so we never made that transfer. In the interest of transparency, this report shows the finance and treasurer department at $62,000 over budget. However, that still includes half of Guy's fee for the year, which will be transferred up to the BOE. The remaining overage there reflects the other half of Guy's salary, as well as the raise for the senior accountant. I'm happy to say that just as we discussed when we made those moves earlier in the year, if you look at the fringe line, those are covered by the savings in fringe from finance. So that actually played out just as the way we hoped it would. So that was encouraging to see. The public works bullet we've talked about before. We basically, keep our fingers crossed for mild winters, but that helped us out quite a bit. And we've talked about the capital expenditure item with the locker room invoices too. On the balance sheet side, cash is down 2 million from last month, as we obviously pay out the rest of the year. Obviously, collections started up in July. And August, for the first tax bills. Compared to last year, however, we're 2.6 million higher in cash balance. Fund balance ended the year, and this of course is draft at 2.3 million, up 384,000 from the prior year. So that was pretty encouraging. Still early yet, but it was nice to see some decent numbers there.
Questions?
Just a clarification,
Mhm.
because sometimes these in and outs, we don't get all of them, but when we say 552 below budget. Because that includes the 250 for Turtle Hat, we're really 350 below
Right.
budget.
That's
But
why-
that would have been offset by an
Mhm.
input. When the
Right.
expense got
Right.
booked, you would have had the revenue.
We would have had the revenue come.
Still great, it was 350, but just
Right.
we leave it at that.
That's why I wanted that as the first bullet,
Sure.
to make sure that that was clear. If there aren't any questions, I can go into the Turtle Lot Trust update, which is somewhat relevant to that.
Yeah, so then we-
Some good news there, actually, which is nice to see for a change. Modest increase in both the Bank of America account. These are 630 balances, to $137,000 there, and the account that is currently at Weiss Hale Zahansky has risen also modestly to 2,414,000. So that brings our total current balance in the trust as of 630 to $2,552,000. That is approximately just under $200,000 over our floor. It wasn't long ago, we were dancing on that floor. So it's nice to see a little bit of room, and hopefully things will continue. So that's where we stand there. Other than that, there hasn't been a heck of a lot going on in the trust, but at least there are some encouraging numbers there.
If I could, are you done with the Turtle Lot Trust? If I could add to that, just as a reminder, in the switch to
Weiss Hale Zahansky.
Weiss Hales, in that switch prior, we kind of have been managing the floor and the earnings above and utilizing that money in a lot of great ways at the school. With this switch to this investor, they're gonna model out the spending profile so that we can still peel off money for projects, but it's continuing to grow the base. And I think we all heard that in the back, just as a general reminder. We couldn't do any of that because it was down.
Right.
It'll be nice now to see how that begins to look year over year as we cycle some, but not all of the money out. And hopefully 10, 20, 30 years from now, the floor will be
Right.
3.5 million or something.
Right.
Yeah, because you have to raise the floor as time goes on.
What is the floor?
100 years, you'll be, I
Yeah.
think,
2,355,000.
Okay.
yeah, the draw becomes meaningful in 100 years. So you're absolutely right. Meaningful, I said meaningless.
I took it sarcastically, so.
Any questions on finance report and Turtle Lot Fund update? Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business, teacher negotiations discussion. I believe that would be your item to take a lead on.
Right, we actually we are negotiating 4 contracts this year. We're currently in the process for the paraprofessionals, cafeteria workers and nurses. The negotiation subcommittee met last night to get that underway. The next contract to be negotiated is the teacher's contract. And by state regulations, we are on a very specific timeline to make that happen. And there's certain benchmark criteria or benchmark dates along the way. And then if you don't get an agreement by a certain date, then you go to mediation and hopefully never go to arbitration. But anyway, we're starting that work next month. And one of the requirements is to come to the financial board of the town and let you know that we're in negotiations. I will tell you that the board's attorney, Steve Sador, said yesterday that last year, at the end of last year, contracts were settling around 12.5% over 3 years. And so, picking up from that, we're concerned about just that number. Obviously, trying to keep control on escalating costs. However, we get into negotiations next month. It would be ideal if a member from the Board of Finance would like to participate in that process, because it is a cumbersome process and it is regulated. And so if you understand that, then you know the hard work that the members of the Board of Education do on the backside. So that when we come in with a number, it has really been negotiated hard on the side of both sides. But it's a long process. And it would be nice that somebody understands what that process is like outside of the members of the Board of Ed. So that's why we throw it out to the Board of Finance every time. If someone is interested, Aaron, I would hope that they would either let you know or maybe let you know tonight. And then we can get that person all the dates that are upcoming.
Anyone is interested enough that they want to express their interest now, they're certainly open to do so. But you're certainly welcome to
Couple
this.
questions. Does it have a beginning and an end?
Please.
Does it have a beginning and an end?
It does have a beginning.
Yes.
And the end can be the very longest part of it all.
Those negotiations end if there's an end. They don't end if there's no end.
Yeah,
So what's that time window?
So the time window now, it starts in August, August 8th, and then around October
October,
time.
mid-October is they got it, goes to arbitration.
If we haven't settled on a resolution, then we will go to mediation. Then, of course, arbitration would be something you want to avoid at all costs.
Yep.
Because it's expensive.
For everybody. And then within that window, is it a meeting once a month, once a week, every night?
It depends on everyone's schedules, and there's so many of us. I would say like every other week it starts happening.
Yeah, we try every other week.
Every other week from August 8th till October.
Rob, I think you're the man.
No, that's why I'm asking the question. Set you up, Steve.
He's helping everybody else to make the decision.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for taking the lead.
It's an interesting process nonetheless.
very much so.
Okay.
Well, if there's no immediate takers now, please discern on this in your own times and let me know.
I don't think I could, quite frankly. Conflict, a little bit of a conflict, so.
But again, if anybody is interested, let me know. What would be a date by which you would need to hear?
Prior to the 8th of August.
Right, so I guess the 6th of August would probably be a good deadline if you want to express your interest to me, because then I have 24 hours to relay that, and we would still be on time. It would be before the 8th of August. So by August 6th,
Sunday, 6th.
is that Sunday?
Yep.
Excellent, well done.
I had another question.
Go ahead.
It's not tied to any level of interest, just.
That's not what I'm hearing.
That's not what's with Steve. But, is it only in person or is it Zoom?
It's only in person. Yeah.
That's
Those are
probably-
those three concessions. Have that in person.
Yep.
It's basically executive session in a sense.
In a sense,
Yeah, it
right.
can't be in a public.
Can't be, it probably can't be recorded.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just not sure.
All right, any other questions, comments? So by August 6th, if you're interested, please let me know. And I know the next item on the agenda is Board of Finance member comments, but that's because we were going to save the executive session till the very end. And then we removed the executive session and went ahead and put an item on that's a descriptor. We always say Board of Finance member comments till the end, so what I'll do is I'll make a motion that we skip Board of Finance member comments and we go to this item 11 called request from Board of Selectmen.
Second then.
All right, so motion's been made and seconded to skip over item 10 and go directly to item 11. All in favor of doing so, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? So that carries 5-0. We're now on item 11, which is request from Board of Selectmen, and that is to appropriate an additional $15,000 in salary to the Wetlands Conservation Department. Amy, I'm assuming you're going to take the lead on
Well,
this discussion.
I have actually asked our Human Resources Director, Michelle DiMarinaro, to come in today, and Tara Penn-Gessick, because she is the director and she oversees both of those departments.
This is-
It's a conversation that took place between Bill Steglitz, myself, and Tara and Michelle. And this is an amount that we came up with together, but I'm gonna let Michelle take the lead, or Tara take the lead first. And they're gonna explain the situation and what we're looking for this department.
So just to give some context and,
Yeah.
because we have a conservation agent, Dan Halo, and a wetlands agent, Marla Butts. Dan came on staff when the late Carolyn Wurge passed. Carolyn had been in the position of conservation agent for quite some time at what can only be described as a charity rate to the town. And we made some adjustments in order to bring Dan on, who was a person early in his career, but that was still at a part-time position. When he first came on, there was always talk that.
Madam
because-
Chairman, can you hear me? Madam
Yes.
Chairman, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the voice is not carrying. Could you ask the person to come
Oh,
closer?
that's
to
a
the
first.
microphone?
Come on up.
What happened?
Thank you, Dottie. We're gonna correct that right now.
All right, so to provide the context, we'll backtrack a little bit. When Carolyn Wurge passed, our longtime conservation agent, we hired Dan Malo to fill the position. Still, well, part-time in most people's thinking, but to the level where he could take benefits so that we could make that feasible. When we hired him, the understanding was, because Marla had been talking for some time about how her retirement was imminent, that eventually we would combine those positions. Both of them are essentially providing us a very generous agreement in terms of the expertise that they bring and what we are paying them for the hours that they're doing. So it very recently, within the last month, came to my attention that essentially Dan's struggling, right? It's becoming unfeasible for him to continue in the position for the hours and pay that we have. We had thought at one time that Marla was planning on retiring at the end of the fiscal year, but she's got something which is very important that she really feels she needs to finish up. And although she's probably closing in on that, that end date is not defined. Certainly not defined enough for me to be able to go to Dan and say,
Hold on.
yeah, can you just buy a lot of ramen, you know? So that was what prompted the discussion. I have asked Dan to sort of hold off on any job searching he may be doing until we can at least come up with something that we can tell him. And we've spoken to him. We spoke to Marla yesterday. Yesterday, and she was very understanding and amenable. And in fact, and I think Amy has something that she can read that Marla sent to us, supportive of this in terms of, you know, the rates of pay, the unforeseen costs that could arise if he's forced to take another job and then she decides to retire, some of the costs that, you know, could then land in the town's lap. And we have a very active wetlands commission. We have a lot of wetlands in Thompson. So it's not like Hartford or Windsor Locks, where actually Dan used to be the wetlands agent, where, you know, it's already all pretty much developed. The wetlands profile is very small. Our wetlands profile is huge. So if Amy, if you want to read that letter, I think that'll be.
It's relatively longer. We met with Marla on Wednesday, just to get her buy-in on what we were thinking of doing as far as combining the positions and potentially, which Michelle and Tara will share afterwards, using her as a consultant basis to finish up the wetlands regulations. She says in the email to us, Following our discussion this afternoon, a thought occurred to me that should encourage the Board of Finance to provide adequate funding for a replacement of the position that I now hold. Section 22S-42A C in parentheses C parentheses 1 of the Connecticut General Statutes, it states, if the Inland Wetlands Agency or its agent fails to act on any application within 35 days after the completion of a public hearing, or in the absence of a public hearing within 65 days from the date of receipt of the application, or within an extension of any such period as provided in section 8-7D, the applicant may file such application with the Commissioner of Energy and Environmental Protection, who shall review the act on such application in accordance with the section. She does highlight this. It says, any cost incurred by the commissioner in reviewing such application for such inland wetlands agency shall be paid by the municipality that established or authorized this agency. From my past employment as a DEP supervising environmental analyst, I have personal knowledge of a wetlands case that occurred about 25 years ago, involving the town of Bridgewater, wherein the applicant used this provision of the statute following the Bridgewater Inland Wetlands Agency's failure to act on an application pending before it. My recollection is that the cost the town was charged was somewhere around $3,000 to cover processing costs. Of course, that was 25 years ago. For many years now, the town of Thompson has received the benefit of my employment way below a wage that is commensurate with the education, training, and skill set needed to perform the position as wetlands agent. I've done this following my retirement from the state service as a way of giving back to society. I have stated it is my intention to resign from my position in this fiscal year, and I have attempted to provide a transition of my duties and skills to the current conservation officer. During the recent budget cycle, I recommended but failed to obtain a significant increase in the salary for the wetlands agent in anticipation of leaving town service. Failure to increase the funding and provide a living wage for this position will likely result in the town being unable to employ an individual with adequate experience and training to process wetlands and water course applications. If the town loses its ability to process wetlands and water course applications, it could quickly incur unexpected and expensive costs. I encourage the Board of Finance to provide additional funding to provide a livable wage for a wetlands agent / conservation officer position, which does not now exist. Please feel free to share with the Board of Finance. And then it's signed Marla Butts, Thompson Wetlands Agent.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So what you're telling me, she's requesting that we join together the inland wetlands officer and the conservation officer,
Correct.
as it used to be.
Yes.
Essentially, yes, but they're still separate commissions.
I understand.
Yeah.
So we did our
But your mom
research.
headed the inland wetlands
So when
because I
Bill,
was on it for 27 years.
so when Bill, Amy, Tara, and myself met, we combined both of the salaries for both the inland wetlands and the conservation, and it still was not a wage that we could have competed with other towns. There's approximately 56 open positions in that general industry right now, just in Connecticut alone. And that doesn't even count what's over the border in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, which I unfortunately did not have the opportunity to look at today. Go ahead.
So what, if you're referring to other agents in the area, what is the basic salary, say, in Woodstock, Thompson, Putnam? How do we compare with our surrounding towns?
Currently, Woodstock has not been able to find a wetlands agent, and according to Marla, they are contracted out at $100 an hour.
What about Putnam?
Average rate $35 to $50 an hour.
Yes.
Yeah, that's about right. Apparently, the secretaries for wetlands commissions in right across the border in Massachusetts are making $33 an hour. So more than we're paying our professionals in the job.
What are we paying now?
21
21.
and 27, total of 48 and change.
For us to bring it to a livable wage of the $35 an hour, we need to ask you to fund an additional $10,240 to bring him to that livable wage at the minimum. Plus, we also need to understand that Marla needs to finish the inland wetlands regulations. When we spoke to her, we had spoken about how many hours she's going to need to complete it, and she's not sure, and she is gonna get back to us with a specific number of hours. And what we thought we would understandably pay her in a personal service contract. She actually came back and said that was too much, and she is thinking about a lower rate for us so that she can also complete it. It's not so much about the rate, it's actually the hours that she needs to complete the regulations.
You're confusing me. Are we talking an hourly wage? Are we talking a combined salary of, say, 58 plus?
For Dan, it would be a combined, it would be a salary of 58,000.
Okay. And what are you
For
adding to?
Marla to complete the inlands wetlands regulation, it would be an hourly wage, undecided at this point. In hours, we need to understand what the scope of the work will be.
Why extra money?
So Marla would be transitioning to contract only. So the salary for the combined wetlands agent and conservation agent is one piece. And then the second piece is what money do we therefore also need to carve out so that Marla can complete the task that she is best qualified to complete, sort of as her
Bridge.
her exit
Yeah.
So
project.
one is a one-time cost that goes away. The
No,
others
is
are-
she-
the others are-
Is she leaving or I'm?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, she will leave as the position of wetlands agent, but she will stay just to do the wetlands regulations and kind of mentor Dan a
So
little bit.
by
Just as a
increasing
consultant.
this
Yes,
salary
as a
to
consultant.
58,000,
Nothing to do.
what are we achieving? We're losing our agent.
But Dan becomes the agent.
Dan
becomes
Dan
the
covers
agent.
both.
He'll
Okay.
cover
Yeah,
both.
He gets to come
Okay,
in.
I'm missing out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
we're
it's a
talking
transitional
two
plan.
individuals.
Yes.
Right. Two individuals essentially in three positions, but one person does two of them.
Okay,
And eventually, when Marla finishes the wetlands regulation, she will no longer be.
and then Dan will be the combined
Correct,
officer
correct.
for both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, in that period of time, does Dan need more? I don't know Dan or his, requirements. Does he need more requirements to actually be the wetland agent, or is he already certified?
He
Yeah,
was the
just said
wetlands agent
Okay.
for Windsor
Got
Locks,
it.
so
Okay,
he,
so I didn't know
and he
that.
actually was the wetlands agent in Woodstock.
Okay, good.
So he has been doing that job in other contexts.
That's good.
Yeah, he wants to work one job,
I had to ask the question. I just-
one job in one place for one municipality, and he likes it here. I mean,
Yeah.
he wants to stay, so, and we want to keep him.
Plenty to do.
Okay,
If Marlon
I'm
leaves,
beginning to understand. So what are we looking at an hourly wage?
For Marla, we are not at that moment yet. We don't know.
Okay,
We're more concerned, sorry.
That's all right.
No.
$35 an hour for Dan, which would bring him up to the $58,000 salary.
so are we paying him by the hour or are we paying him as
It
a
would be
salary?
It would be a salary, but it's comparable to what other inlands wetlands agents are making.
I understand, but I'm asking you, are we paying him by the hour or are we paying a
Salary.
salary?
Salary,
Okay, that
sorry,
makes a difference.
I'm sorry.
if Marlon leaves earlier rather than later, does that offset some of the cost you're asking for?
I don't believe that Marla will leave any earlier than to make sure that these regulations are.
Oh, no, I
completely
think she's gonna do the job,
Yes.
but
She enjoyed it.
instead of staying till June 30th, she leaves.
I think it's
in
better to
December.
think of Marla's contract as a lump sum, and we just don't know how the hours and
Okay,
therefore the
fair
hourly
enough.
rate for that lump sum
Gotcha.
break
All right.
down.
Fair enough.
It's a
Thank you.
one-time cost.
It's a
Right, it's a
one-time
contract.
But we don't
Yes.
know what that
One-time
lump
cost.
sum is gonna be yet.
No,
Well, that's why we asked for $15,000, so it would encompass the $10,000, $10,240 that we need for Dan.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it will go towards Marla.
Got it.
so I'd like to deal with that separately. I mean, we're talking two positions. I'm not in favor of combining and
Mhm.
approving a $15,000. Some money's going to Mall and some.
And we don't know what Marla needs yet. either.
And
We don't know what
That's the
Marla needs
concern.
yet,
That's the
right.
real concern.
That's-
Why
Is it gonna
can't
be
we-
enough?
Why can't we do that at a future meeting?
Well, because we've asked the
Oh.
person who is feeling pressure to look for another job to hold off, and we can't.
Well,
We can't
I'm
do
not
a conscious
putting
estimate, do
Dan
that
aside. I'm
definitely.
saying we can approve Dan, who is going to serve in both positions.
And then
Okay.
once we know.
And then once
Marla's-
And then once
Marla's
we know
hours
what
or We
Marla,
don't know.
No, absolutely.
And once we know what
Mhm.
it will
That
take
makes
to
sense.
finish the regulations, then we appropriate that.
Our timeline for this moved very rapidly. We found out about this right after 4th of July. We met last week. We met with the Board of Selectmen in an executive session on Tuesday night.
Yep.
We met with Marla Wednesday night, so it's been a rapid.
No, I understand. I just want to keep
Mhm.
things
Absolutely. That
compartmentalized.
makes sense. I would agree. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't really have it. I don't know what to say, but I think that the board should listen to me. It's all good.
So it's.
In the
I
positive,
could make it comment, Amy, but I don't.
So the request needed for just Dan's salary is
$10,240,
not including the Marla.
not including
Okay,
Marla, just
okay.
$10,240 for Dan's salary to increase.
So.
I will make a motion that we increase
Yes.
the conservation officer plus the wetland officer combined salary by $10,240.
$240.
Rob, me and I'll second that.
So a motion has been made and seconded to,
To be taken from what do we call it? Undesignated surplus.
Oh, okay.
Contingency?
Not from contingency.
Contingency?
We have.
How much do we have in it?
67,000.
I'm sorry,
500,
Steve, I
I believe.
forgot.
That's what I was-
Thank you, thank you. 75,000?
No, I think we cut that.
Yes, we did. We took some, I believe it was for, to move the ACO full-time. So right now, we're just under $65,000.
Okay, I would correct that motion to read from contingency. The fund, which
From
Contingency.
contingency, okay.
so what was the dollar amount?
$10,240.
So a motion has been made to appropriate $10,240.
$240.
$2,240.
Just if we're gonna get.
42.
$10,242.
So, right.
27 cents.
See accountant over there.
sorry, Aaron.
It's okay. I'm gonna say the number before I forget it. $10,242.
$10,242.
$10,242. A motion has been made to appropriate $10,242 from contingency to increase compensation for the combined
Position,
the combined wetlands conservation position that is currently the person who is currently covering which one of these?
wetland.
Conservation.
Okay, so that
Wetlands.
Being created.
Conservation.
Okay,
Currently,
what's
Oh,
Dan?
sorry, you're right.
Dan
I got that.
Whalen.
Okay,
Yeah.
what does Dan do now?
He is the
Conservation,
conservation
yeah.
agent.
Great, thank you. So
Got that.
$10,242 to increase the compensation for the combined wetlands conservation director person who's
Agent.
agent who is currently the conservation agent, right? And the conservation agent will cover both wetlands and conservation. And that dollar amount is to increase that person's compensation. Sorry,
Okay,
comments.
that is increasing his wage per hour. Backed in from salary and his number of hours,
Yes,
because he's taking on the hours.
right.
Correct.
That Marla did. I just want to
Yes,
clarify that.
correct.
Number two, I agree with the detangling of this in a sense, because it's cleaner that way. However, that's in the dollars and cents world. In the world of what they're trying to do, they're connected. So my question is, if we untangle this like we are and we approve one, does that put any undue stress on what you guys are trying to do?
I
In other
don't think you
words,
put stress on it. I think we need to figure out the time frame in the transitioning, because again, this came up so quickly. You know, we're considered
understood.
the dollars
wanna-
and cents first. Yeah, so
Asked differently, if we approve or deny this tonight, and then we come forward with the offset, the one-time cost for Marla to finish her duration and transition, is that gonna create an issue?
No, because we're still missing information from Marla
Understood.
on the hours.
I got it.
And,
Okay.
and the current budget still has Marla's salary in it, that current until she's gone and does that conversion over to
Actually,
That's
no,
not what I-
no.
No, because
No.
that's taking this salary,
She's,
so she,
what we're saying now is Dan is taking over both
okay, so
positions.
she's going to need this, like, we're at month now. Next month, she's gonna need money to continue doing the new wetland regulations. So we do have to, that's the part we have to.
It's probably an
detangle.
issue only in May or April next year, isn't it?
Yes, it's gonna be an
The budget in
issue,
total has,
Yes.
but it will not. it's not gonna
Correct.
Be a July issue.
and we'll,
August
and
issue.
probably have a better outlook of what it actually requires by then.
I look at it from the point of view, starting next week, we're gonna begin the transition.
Yeah,
To which Marla will have had some of the weekend. We're gonna sit down with her again. We're gonna get an approximate timeline from her, scope of work, and then we'll have a dollar figure to bring to you. I don't know if
Next
you're gonna
month.
meet in August, but if not, we'll bring it to you in September. In the meantime,
And I think we were talking about this transition happening around September because she has a regular, like 3-week vacation, so it makes a clean break,
That's good.
yes.
right?
so,
So,
so the whole discussion about next April and May is not.
No.
So just so we're clear, so I'm strained in my head because I'm starting to get confused now. If when we approve this,
Her salary's gone.
right, the dollars are going up by 10,000, you can break it down to per hour if you want to do it, it's $10,000 more. Dan is assuming her hours and being paid for her hours. Because when we leave here tomorrow, Marla
Doesn't have a job.
doesn't get paid until
Oh.
we figure out, I want to be
Okay,
clear on that, I'm
all
not
right,
saying
oh,
that.
no, no, I
I'm
get you.
clarifying.
Exactly, that's
No,
why I-
Until we approve the one-time funding to carry her through to the end of her project. Does that create a problem if we're sitting here in September approving that? What
Maybe
is she doing for the next 2 months?
a dollar amount to start.
That's what we have.
And
I would rather not. I would rather have the chair call a very quick meeting as we have done on other occasions, special meeting. I don't particularly like to put out a dollar amount, which now becomes the fee.
Yeah.
I think this
It's a
still
relatively
needs to be
small- And I-
negotiated.
We got others here, I don't necessarily have an issue with it, that's why I asked about the stress in the system. when
Yeah,
asked
that's what I was
Marla about-
concerned with.
Because we don't want to be in a
yeah,
situation
I
where.
see where you're headed at. And I wonder if it's amending the motion to just indicate less the position, but more the person.
Or the department for the two, you guys
Yeah.
figure out how,
Yeah.
if he
That's
picks
not
up
bad.
half the hours now and the rest of the hours in September, we don't need to manage that, we just want to make sure it's not being paid twice.
So that goes back to the original request, which is the moving the
Correct.
15 even or whatever.
$15,000,
Yeah, but you're basically setting an amount from all.
Good point, yeah.
Yes. That's what I'm trying to avoid. This is still a negotiable amount because you can't come to us and tell us
Right,
we need this.
which I totally understand you separating them both completely.
And I don't mind meeting for 15 minutes some night. Or afternoon or whenever it's convenient to the members to approve that amount. I'm not against it. I just feel that in terms of
Even be-
negotiation, it's beneficial to the town to hold off on the amount.
If I might change this up slightly, just sort of go back for background. From, if I understood Marla's letter, she asked for the $15,000 in the early budget process. Why was that cut?
I actually was not a part of that piece.
Oh,
That
okay.
was,
I think it might have been cut with the selectmen because at the time Marla could not give me, I knew that she had planned to retire. Since I took office 4 years ago. So, and then in discussion with her about it, I was point blank, well, are you planning to retire soon? Maybe at the end of the fiscal year. Well, that's a whole year, and I knew that the budget was going to be close, and I made, as a board of selectmen, we decided to just keep it as it was, because we also didn't foresee the potential loss of a really great employee. So, yeah, that was, and I think Marla at the time was projecting a $33 up,
I
increase in
think so,
her,
yeah.
which would be equivalent to 33 at the time. So I think she was preparing us for it, but I just,
And let's be frank, that would have been in the first budget, which was the one that got shot down. So even if it had gone into that, it would have come right
Just
out
sort of
anyway.
Let the, why was.
that was why.
So we're talking $29 an hour. For Dan.
35.
35.
It's not a 40-hour job.
Yeah,
Not
32
a-
hours.
it's
It's not a 40-hour job.
I just backed into it. I backed into the numbers and it was.
32
32,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, it's
Town hall
salary.
isn't
it's easy
even-
to
I was-
adjust.
salary.
It's
Salary.
salary.
It's-
but the-
Yeah,
okay.
because it's 32
Yeah,
hours, but he
that's
also
fine.
runs, he runs 2 meetings, he'll be running 2 meetings every month.
No.
and-
No problem, I
And
just
did he
assumed
have
normal
benefits now?
40 hours.
Yes, he does.
I did that, I expound on it for the listening
Catch that.
audience.
And he has benefits now, so it's not an increase in our
Yes.
benefits line, so.
I have one more point of view. And I don't mind meeting at a moment's notice if that's the outcome, and I would say 99% of the time. I agree with you, Dave, I like to know what the numbers are. In this case, given Marla's history. Her love of the job, I think whatever number they come up with is probably half of what the market number would be. So
That-
I would be okay with approving the 15, the 10,242 and the budget of 48, and she gets the job done at that. Again, normally I would want it all, I'm about
I'm-
completeness,
Buttoned up.
but on this one, it's.
I'm looking at a situation where we're looking at Marla as a contract employee for X amount of dollars.
That's correct, for a fixed period of time, for a fixed project.
Not a fixed period, well,
Yep.
fixed period of time, but if she goes over, there's no additional funding.
Mhm.
That's my concern.
And that's what I
If we
heard.
say $35 an hour, then I would rather go with the amount. But I would separate it from the 15 and do it as we're doing Dan's portion. And then if
Yep.
you want to come up
I agree.
with
I agree.
a contract
I think we need,
employee
I'm agreeing.
to complete the inland wetlands regulations for X amount of dollars, I can buy that.
I think we just need to hear back from Marla to know what she needs for this project.
I'm not sure she knows.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the issue.
My
Well, I-
suggestion, I understand all.
And it's
my
time,
suggestions on this one,
And
we kinda
she
have
said
it.
she's on vacation or something's coming up.
Till September.
So in September, she has, I guess, a regular 3-week period
in
that she's away.
September.
So that's why it ends up being a clean break. And I think
Yes.
we're roughly in our head saying this is the exit period or the transition period is a better way to put it.
How long it's.
And in terms of the contract amount, the hourly amount, the dollars, I think the point there is that she's already saying she's essentially been doing this as a public service.
Right.
She will, the important thing to her is she's trying to figure out the hours and then we will map that hourly rate to those hours
Yeah.
until it fits the designated amount, which is
Yeah.
why I think the 15,000 is okay. Because it removes that awkwardness of, once you guys vote on, here's the combined position and here's the contract, as you say, oh, Marla, did you come in today to do your job? Let's talk about that, right? And that's
Hmm.
unnecessarily awkward.
If it's a
Whereas if it's the
if it's a
lump,
contract
That's adding-
position,
But
if
it
it's a
isn't yet.
contract position,
I get it.
it's not
Yeah.
awkward.
I get both.
Yeah.
We're paying you X amount of dollars to complete a job.
Starting in.
Right, so we don't have the starting in yet, so if it's the lump sum, then we apply it appropriately until all of the pieces of paper are signed and everybody has their agreements.
Yes.
So in the immediate term, it sounds like there's a amendment that may be appropriate, and the motioner and the seconder can correct me if I'm wrong. But it sounds like rather than increasing a certain person's salary by $10,242, we're going to be increasing the Wetlands Conservation Department's compensation line item or compensation line items for the chief executive of the municipality to make the determination on how to appropriately parcel out that increase in the immediate term while we sort out the other side of this piece. Because someone said rather than, I didn't make the motion, I didn't second, but someone said rather than trying to make it hit a certain person, there was something about that
I said that.
less advantageous, that perhaps we just direct it to the compensation of the department. Because,
I said that, Aaron, it
Okay.
was simply because then it allows this transition to not be awkward, and if. Well, I was gonna work 5 hours next week and 8 the week after, while all this is sorted out, she gets paid. Dan doesn't get that portion of the hours. I mean, when we're approving the same dollar value and the same number of hours for the department, we're just not micromanaging how it's actually paid. That's what Bill's gonna do in our first select.
And we're intending for the conservation agents to take over conservation and wetlands to be one combined agent at a living wage is the phrase that I heard. Whether that living wage begins tomorrow or it transitions from tomorrow over the course of the next week or 2 or 3, it's, I mean, I'm not close
That
enough
might be a
to this.
concern for Dan.
I'm not close enough to this.
Just saying.
Right, I'm not close enough to this to know, to be able to tell somebody else how to do this. I'm happy to give the person who's authorized and elected to do the job to figure out how to do it. That person has come to me and said, just, you know, I'm requesting the resources in order to do this. Fair enough. Like I said, I'm not close enough to tell that person how to do it for them. Now, I didn't make the motion and I make the second. I'm suggesting based on conversation during the discussion period that there was this suggestion about amending the motion so that the 10,242 goes to the salary line of the department as opposed to trying to aim it towards a single person. Does the motioner, is the motioner willing to amend the motion so that it hits the salary line instead of trying to pinpoint a specific person?
I don't have a problem with that, but I'm still talking. $10,242.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm with you. That's right. So that instead of 10,242 going to the conservation department agent, excuse me, the conservation agent. So instead of 10,242 going to the conservation agent, who will become the wetlands conservation agent, the 10,242 goes to the wetlands conservation department salary line so that the chief executive of the town can parcel this out and transition.
You're talking two departments, Aaron.
So hold on, it's on this agenda, it's called Wetlands Conservation Department. Is this one department or not?
It will be.
It will be, but it
So
isn't
it's
right
not?
now. It is not right
Okay,
now.
well, then because it said slash, I thought it was one department.
It's the intention to.
Yeah, it's getting changed from a
Now I
con.
understand. So
Yeah.
we're not talking about one department, we're talking
No.
about 2 different departments within the budget.
Yes. That's why
I
I
get it.
phrased it the way
I get it.
I did. And I don't object to increasing a second motion for an independent contract for the completion of the inland wetland regulations in the amount of
Sure.
Yeah, that's what
whatever
I
you
go.
have. I can go along with that. But I don't want them together, is what I'm saying.
So then the motion that's on the table, right now, the motion that's on the table was 10,242 for the conservation agent, because that person is going to take on conservation in wetlands. Is that a motion that the department heads can live with, or does it require an amendment? Based on what you need from this board, do you feel like that motion is sufficient?
I feel it's sufficient.
That takes care of Dan's position.
Exactly,
Yeah,
right, yeah.
Then we
That
deal
part
with
of
the
it.
other.
Well, I'm just talking about Dan's position. I'm just talking about the conservation agent. That's it.
Yeah.
10,242. And the nature of the motion.
Mhm.
Is that motion sufficient?
I
I
think
got
if
it, Mom.
HR is comfortable with that, then I am comfortable with that.
All right, so the motion has been made and seconded, and we've had lots of discussion. Any other discussion on this? This is just a 10,242. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll go around the table. Rob Mann,
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Yes.
Rob Ward?
Yes.
How about yes? This one carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does,
Now, what is the number?
I was just gonna say, while we're still on this line item, before we leave it, while we're still on this line item, because we're still on the line item, is there, does any,
$728.
What is it?
4,758.
Right.
Bring you to the.
while we're on this line item, before we leave this item, is there anyone on this board who has an appetite for moving forward with a motion for this remaining amount, this 4,000, whatever it is?
Yeah. I'll make the
Large
motion.
appetite, yes.
Okay,
I'll second.
well,
Good.
but
Well, wait a
the
minute.
motion hasn't been made yet.
Just making it.
I'd like to make a motion to appropriate $4,700, let's make it $4,800. That'll mess you up though.
Nope, nope, I'm okay.
To fund the employment of a contract employee to complete the inland wetlands
Regulations.
regulations. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Great, so motion's been made and seconded to appropriate $4,800 from contingency for the purpose of compensating a wetlands contractor,
A contract,
a contractor. who will-
individual,
An individual, right, an independent individual contractor, right, thank you, an independent contractor. An independent contractor who will complete the necessary aforementioned wetlands regulation project.
Update of the inland
Update.
wetlands regulations.
Yeah, there you go.
they exist now.
No, do we need to be a little careful about requiring it to be a contractor as opposed to the current employment category?
No, I think
I
so.
think
The select
that's
can
up-
make-
Do you
The
think that'll
selectmen,
cover
that's
both, either
Board of
one,
Selectmen.
either way, whether?
Yeah, I don't see a
Want to be
problem.
careful. I mean, I would like it to be flexible.
Well, they have the flexibility of hiring who they wish.
Bill's question, I mean, I don't want to.
I think
Has
it's
to be a
the
contractor,
practical
can't be an
question is,
employee.
Does she have to push her to a 1099 tomorrow?
Yeah,
Or
that's
Can you
it,
pay her
that's-
as a W-2 employee? That's what,
Exactly the question.
that's where
That's
Steve's
the other
going.
piece.
As a
That's a
practical,
question for you. You're the only one who could possibly answer that.
sorry. Aaron.
It would be a
No, no,
1099 contract.
Okay, so it would be,
1099, right?
1099.
Yeah.
But if you'd rather keep her as an employee, why don't we give her give the administration the
No.
flexibility to make that choice?
No, it doesn't have a
Whatever
date
it's out
where
there.
this actually begins. Or is it,
Well, you,
as soon as the meeting's over, does she become a 1099 employee because she has time off and then she's a current wetland employee now?
I don't
Well, this is
support
another
it.
issue to bring up.
Initially Said would be the first week of September because the September 7th deadline on specific regulations that Marla.
That's on the
needed to be-
FEMA thing, yeah.
The FEMA regulations that Marla needed to
We have to
be
put a date on this.
available for, her. And then she transitions out with a 3-week vacation.
so are you still holding her on as an employee versus an independent contractor?
Has to because she's on vacation in September, I believe, right? I think I said that right.
so
Sorry.
Steve's question was, can we allow
Okay,
her?
mention.
Steve, this is Steve's question. Can we allow her to accept this compensation, continuing as an employee of the town? It sounds like the Director of Human Resources says, no. Once this person transitions into this project, the nature of this compensation will be 1099 independent contractor compensation. Is that correct?
Yes, which is what she asked for. She asked
Okay,
for a person.
And does that happen in September or does that start tomorrow?
Those are the next pieces that we need to fall
Because
in.
Dan's the one taking her salary.
Yes, those are the next pieces that will need to
So
fall
can we
in.
phrase this so we have so that the
That's,
selectmen have the
Flexibility.
flexibility to handle it?
The-
we need,
We increased the two offices, inland wetland conservation officer. We increased that to amount. How they handle that amount, that's,
No, but your motion was specifically to a contractor. And
Yes.
when I wanted to, if we could phrase it just slightly separate, differently to allow Amy or a selectman or the associated administration to either pay as an employee or pay as a contractor, whichever seems to work out best for Marla and our town.
well, then, what shall I toss in the other problem, benefits?
Marla does
Marla
not get
doesn't draw
benefits.
Pardon?
She does not draw benefits.
Okay, she's under 19, under 20 hours,
Yes, sir.
okay.
So if we were to amend the motion, it would simply be to appropriate $4,800 from contingency to compensate the current wetlands agent for the purpose of completing, please tell me what this is again?
Inland wetlands regulations.
That's it. That would be the motion.
so we should leave her on as a,
Wait, that would be the
That,
motion.
that's
That
fine
would
with
be the
me.
motion, because then we
Leave
would
her on
leave
as
off the
employee.
part about
Yeah.
employee or
Yeah.
contractor, whatever. It
Yeah,
would just be
makes sense.
$4,800 from contingency to compensate the current wetlands agent for the purpose of aforementioned project.
Inland
Correct.
okay, so let's
wetlands
amend that.
regulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Is that,
Yeah,
is
I
that,
think that's good.
Acceptable,
that's the motion you're comfortable with?
yes.
And you're comfortable, with- you're okay with seconding that?
Come on, Rob.
And Dottie?
I'm good, I'm good.
will only have to listen, she'll only have to re-listen to
you
this tape like 10 times to get all this.
I just saw that we were gonna have like this chain of catastrophe, the way we're doing it, that's all.
I think Dottie's gonna be asking for a special project appropriation, just for doing the damn minutes.
Sorry, Dottie.
Dottie, we know you're a champion.
8:39 p.m. We got it, 8:39 p.m.
So the motion and second has been made. Any other discussion? Okay, We good? We ready to go around the table? We ready to go around the table? Rob, man?
Rob Man, yes.
Dave?
Yes,
Steve?
Yes.
Yes.
I vote yes, this carries 5-0.
Okay.
We can leave this item now, right? We can move on.
I have no comments.
Okay, great. So
Thank
that
you,
means
gentlemen.
because we skipped over 10 and went to 11, that means we now go to Board of Finance member comments. Any Board of Finance member comments?
I have a question. Did
I'm
we-
exhausted.
I'm exhausted. Just because I don't remember, did we vote not to have a meeting in August? I think we did.
I don't remember if we voted.
We don't
Okay.
usually vote.
No,
Usually.
The
we
chair
just don't.
decides.
I think
Okay.
that's the pleasure of the chair.
that's
Yep.
great. Are we gonna have a meeting in August, Chair?
It's funny you say that because I wrote in my own little hand scratch here, cancel August meeting, question mark. So I actually was gonna bring that up. I guess usually it's a function of a few things, right?
Yeah.
If we get a budget passed before June 30th, which we did,
Yep.
and then it's a question of, does the first selectman need anything in August? Does the finance director need anything in August? Does the superintendent of schools need anything in August? Is there anyone who feels like they need a formal action from the board in August? If they do, or they may, then of course we would meet, right? And if they don't, then we typically quietly just let August
Yeah,
slip. on
after
by.
tonight, they don't want it.
Yep,
And not to put Bill on the spot, but I think we do still by email get a monthly report.
Right.
Sorry, Bill, you don't get the month off.
he just doesn't have to show up to a meeting and
That's right.
listen to us dissect how we're gonna appropriate
$4,800.
$4,000 to accomplish a project.
I'm tired.
So are we good? Is everybody here okay?
Unless something special comes up and you have to call a
Yes,
special meeting.
That's right.
But that
we're okay?
restricts it to one item or two items. It's a restricted meeting.
We're okay with taking the month off in August? Is everybody okay with? taking
Very
August
nice,
off?
yeah.
I think that's great.
Okay, so we'll do that. We will take August off. Happy summer. And any other Board of Finance member comments?
Can I just speak one more time as an
Yes,
ex officio?
you're an ex officio member.
I wanted to give an update. We have our new animal control officer, Erin and Pellizzari. She is doing phenomenal.
Sure.
The first day that I walked into the kennel after she took over. Smelled like a house and not a kennel. But she's an amazing person. I suspect that at your September meeting, we're gonna have her come and give you a report on how things are going from that first week where Bill and I met with her. Bill got a little excited because she was very good. She had a spreadsheet, she had all of her.
We checked on that, Bill. We knew you were gonna ask. We checked on that.
Just looking for.
So I'm
go,
excited for the work that she's going to do for the town.
Mhm.
She's very dedicated. She's been spending time here every day. She does spend time sometimes at the kennel. She has an office there now, thanks to the school. The school donated a desk for her. But I'm just excited. I know she's gonna take that program where it needs to go and she's super professional and she's gonna be great for the town.
Good.
So she was a great choice.
You've made a
Thank you.
lot of good hires, Amy.
Yeah.
You've made a lot of good hires.
Yeah.
She was a good person.
She is, yeah.
Any other Board of Finance member comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Rob did the motion. Rob Lynch is the second. All in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? It's 8:43. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We'll see
I
you.
don't think I've ever had such a simple discussion that was so